Hey, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. All right, I'm looking at the minor prophets of sorts this week. I'm really spending the week in Jonah because I've been editing this next book that's got Jonah in it. And I wanted to talk to you about today a verse out of Jonah 1:3, but also verse 10. But let me start by telling you a story. So I was in this courtroom, and it was in New York City. And the judge had called a hearing to figure out which lawyers were going to handle this major piece of litigation. And there were lawyers all over the United States that were desperate to handle it. And so, lawyers being lawyers, they realized the judges called us in. Every lawyer wanted that front seat. Every lawyer wanted to be front and center to get the judge's attention, in hopes that that might better instill their chances of being one of the leaders in this litigation. So all the lawyers get there real early. I mean, there's a line before the courthouse doors open. And it's downstairs, and you got to clear metal detectors and all of that. So once the courthouse opens and the court officials are there, or the security officers are there to see you through the metal detectors, everybody starts going through. Well, once they go through, then they got to get to the elevator. Now, all of this has been a race. Who's at the front of the line? Who's at the front of the metal detector line? Who gets to the elevator first? And there was this one really smart lawyer who got to the elevator first. But then, as the mad swarm of lawyers comes, graciously held the elevator door open and said, "You first, you first, you first," and let the elevator basically fill up while he was just being such a nice person, and then realized when there was only one space left that he would get on. Of course, this fellow was thinking six plans ahead of everybody else, because they go up, the elevator doors open, and who's the first off? It's a fellow who was the last one on the elevator that seemed to be so nice, letting everybody else on first. And he was the first one at the courtroom, and in the courtroom got the seat of his choice. Now, I like that because I'm looking at Jonah. And Jonah rises up and flees the presence of God. He gets on a boat and he goes the opposite way of where God told him to go. And he tells the sailors when he gets on the boat, he says, "Look, I'm taking your ship because I'm fleeing from the presence of God." And that word presence, panah in the Hebrew is face. I'm fleeing from the face of God. I don't want to be in his line of sight. Doesn't turn out well for Jonah. He thought he had planned 6 moves ahead of everybody else. He hadn't. He wound up being one of those people who got on the elevator thinking he was going to be first on and got last off as a result. You see, here's what happens. Oftentimes we want to escape God's face, escape his presence, not see him in hopes he doesn't see us. But God sees it all. You don't hide from him, and I don't hide from him. He doesn't take a break where we can go do our don't show God stuff while he's on break. We don't need to be seeking to flee God's presence and face. The exhortation he put into his word is for us to seek his presence, to seek his face. We want to say that prayer, that priestly prayer, "The Lord bless you and keep you, the Lord make his face shine upon you." We want God's presence to change who we are. We want God's presence to lighten our path. We want the presence of God to bring peace to our storm. We want the presence of God to bring victory in our conflict. We want the presence of God to lift up our downfallen mood. We want the presence of God and should be seeking the presence of God. Don't run from God. Run to God. That's your video thought for the day.